So I'm a bit of a weirdo. I like using these Nintendo Switch controllers for PC gaming. The long and the short of it is it's because I like having these two buttons close to the left stick. I won't go into why that is, but it does present a issue. The letter buttons A, B, X, Y are swapped on these Nintendo Switch controllers relative to the Xbox controllers that most PC games expect. Well, it's possible with remapping to fix that so that this A maps to the A that the games are expecting, but it's still kind of confusing, especially depending on how they represent which buttons you're supposed to push. And so I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if I could just move this A to here, and likewise move the B to here, such that all the buttons were in the correct physical place, at least in terms of the labels, and then do the remapping in software so that when I push this button here, I get the A response. Now, it turns out that you can't really do that very well. And why explains some of the hidden details of how controllers are assembled that might be kind of interesting, and so that's what I'm going to go into in this video. So here are some controller buttons taken out of this controller back here. If you look at their backside, they have sort of an interesting feature. They have these little tabs on them. If I can get this thing to focus right, you can see that the tabs are actually quite different. One of the things that's good about this is that the tabs inside the controller prevent you from putting the buttons in the wrong place. So you can only ever put an X here and a Y here, for instance. So already you can see that there's a bit of an issue here. Those tabs can prevent us from physically swapping the buttons. Now, of course, if you're clever with an X-ACTO knife or whatever, it's pretty easy to remove those tabs, which I have done. So here we have two buttons that have those tabs removed. And I thought that the only purpose of those tabs was to make sure you put the buttons in the right place. But it turns out those tabs are actually important for multiple reasons, which I will now demonstrate. The first one's kind of minimal. You can rotate the buttons if they don't have the tabs. That seems kind of obvious in retrospect. In fact, I knew that that was going to happen. I didn't really care. I figured that even an upside down B looks a heck of a lot more like a B than a button, so that would still be less confusing. But here's the thing that I did not expect, and it's actually kind of funny when you see it happen. So let's say you're pushing the A button, everything's fine. Pushing the B button, boop, comes right out. Now, I had to exaggerate that a little bit and turn the controller sideways. Now, the truth is that once you've been playing for a little while, your hands get a little sweaty. And sweaty fingers are much stickier than dry fingers. And so that B button was just popping out pretty much every single time I pushed it, even when I was holding the controller in the standard orientation. So, unless you like your buttons to just come out all the time while you're gaming, these little tabs on the bottom of the buttons are actually critical, and you have to keep them. And since each one is different, you can't just swap things around. You basically have to keep the buttons in the factory organization. Anyway, that's the answer to the question you probably never realized you should even have asked, which is, why is it when I push a button, it doesn't just come flying out of my controller?